1997 marks the 20th anniversary of the Copper World Classic in the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans, and welcome to Race of the Week. It's a doubleheader. First up, the Wild Woolly and Wings super modified cars, followed by the classic USAC Silver Crown machines. Now, Davey Hamilton will be driving in both categories. Davey Hamilton got noticed by A.J. Foyt during this kind of competition, as it was decades ago, and got an IndyCar ride. Same could be said for Tony Stewart. It's no longer international Grand Prix drivers getting all the seats at the Indy 500. The youngsters are coming out of the grassroots classes. And on the grid right now is Ralph Shaheen. And Ralph, ask Davey, how tough is it to bounce back and forth between two completely, radically different race cars?
There is no wilder piece of machinery on the Copper World grounds than a super modified. It is high horsepower and a lot of hard work to make it work right. Well, Davey, you do it better than anybody driving one of these things, but how tough is it when you're driving in more than one division to climb into this thing and try to make it work?
Actually, it's a lot of fun, but it is difficult. A lot of these guys just race this one car only, and they get pretty used to it, and I'm jumping from a midget Silver Crown car to this, but you know, I got a lot of laps in this. Treguero's giving me a great race car, and we got a good spot here in fourth. It's farther. We haven't started this far back for a while, so we've got our work cut out for us a little bit today.
Well, best of luck to you, Davey Hamilton. And now let's check upstairs with Bobby Gerald, who's standing by with our pole winner.
Randy Bauer will try to win his second straight Copper World Classic. For the very first time in his career, he will try that from the pole. He was 2 miles per hour faster than Troy Regier, who sat on the pole in 1996. Regier was running in the top 5 last year before he had a problem. A key point here, guys, there's a big difference from the front of the field to the rear of the field as far as speed is concerned. How big? How about 37 miles per hour?
Which means if a front runner runs into a back marker, it's like hitting a brick wall at 37 miles an hour. Be careful out there, boys and girls. And there is a lady at the back of the pack we'll talk about a little later. Right now, keep an eye on number 11, Rebel Jackson Jr. from Seattle, a 2-time winner here at Phoenix in Copper World competition. And down in the pits is our second pit reporter, and that is Dave Reith, who has a comment on number 51.
To say that Paul Duran has been on a dry spell wouldn't be too far off. He does have a Copper World Classic Championship under his belt, but you have to go all the way back to 1986 to find that super modified win. He made his first IRL start at the Indianapolis 500 last May, and in last year's Copper Classic, raced from 23rd to 8th. He gets that kind of momentum today. He could be tough. After all, he starts 9th.
All right, Dave, thanks. And Durant definitely one to keep an eye on. You know, putting these machines together takes a lot of ingenuity, especially when you go to plumb the machine. Steve took a look at it earlier.
If you're courageous enough to lay a racing engine on its side, like they do in most of the super modified cars, you better be ready to buy a lot of tubing and hoses, because you're going to do some plumbing for both coolant and oil. Take a look at this mess. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coolant return lines to the radiator. It gets cooled off, comes back through 2 or 3 more into different parts of the engine. Now, oil, same situation. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It scavenges oil from all over the motor, puts it back into different locations. The thing is, once you tip a motor off of plumb, the fluids run to one side or the other, and you got to compensate for it. It's expensive, a lot of work. Call Josephine the plumber.
It's just absolutely crazy how these guys wire these things up. There's Stan Fox, former competitor at the Indy 500, 3-time Copper World midget winner, and the pace car here today.
Rebel Jackson, we talked about within striking distance in that second row. Davey Hamilton, oh man, I wouldn't bet against him anytime he comes to Phoenix.
Davey Hamilton, by far one of the best from the West. Pat Abel, you see there, one of the best from the East.
You know, this is the only racing series I can think of, Ralph, round racing series, that relies primarily on big block motors, the giant Rodeck engines. In fact, there is a drag racing style Keith Blatt block in the number 3C car, Rex Beach, and he's starting 10th, the monster.
Not bad. Rex coming back after taking a bit of a layoff, getting back into the super modified racing scene as we work our way through the rest of the field. And this is one of the biggest fields of super modifieds we've ever seen here in the Copper World. WSMRA now taking over the sanctioning of the modified portion of the Copper World, and it's really helped increase the size of the field.
And you saw starting back in row number 14, 7S, that is Stephanie Gallegos. Here we come. Hold your breath. Oh, baby. Somehow, magically, they remain separated, no wheel-to-wheel contact, which would be really unfortunate in these kind of cars. They're almost as fast as the Indy Racing League cars will be here in Phoenix later this year.
That's absolutely right, Steve. The full speed was 154.4 miles an hour, and the time time was 23.3 by Randy Bauer. So these cars are really whistling around this big 1 mile oval.
Look at this, the 10 car, Troy Regier, who started outside of the front row, has brought back to 9th. In fact, now he's pushed down to 10th. There's something wrong with that car. Pulled around right on his tail.
And that is really surprising. Of course, Regier, the pole winner here last year, shocking to see him struggling this early on.
Well, there is Troy Regier, and he doesn't seem to be regaining any of the momentum we saw in qualifying. He's just kind of struggling back there in 10th.
Boy, the speed shot gives you a great indication of just how fast these cars are coming up the front straightaway.
With all of the offset and all of the downforce from all of the wings, you can just about, if it's set up perfectly, drive one of these cars flat out around the fastest 1 mile oval in the country.
That's exactly correct, but the problem these guys are going to have right now is getting used to these cold tires, getting them up to temperature to get that traction working.
That might very well be the problem with 10 Troy Regier. Up front, 78 Randy Bauer and 11 Rebel Jackson Jr. No surprise there.
No, this should be a great dogfight between these two drivers. Rebel Sport. Oh, and we've got a huge crash, Steve. Oh, my.
Oh, that is 3C. That is Rex Beach from California. We talked about him earlier. That was the car with the Keith Black Hemi, and he got into the wall very, very hard. Car coming to rest. Emergency crews on their way. There's a good chance this will be a red flag. Let's have another look at it, Ralph.
It all starts down here in turns 1 and 2. There you see Rex on the outside trying to go around 2 cars. Let's see if there's some contact here. Looks like he turns right into the wall. That was a heavy impact right there. But watch this as the car turns, it backs right into the wall here. And that is a vicious blow. And I'll tell you what, Steve, he's lucky, and if you can be lucky to crash like this, that he caught part of the tires instead of the wall itself solidly. At least those tires will take some of that impact away, and it could maybe save him.
Well, the medical personnel have Rex Beach out of the car, and obviously on the way to the hospital, we'll bring you news on his condition a little later on in the show. Stay with us from the Copper World Classic.
Hey, there is the remains, not much of it, of Rex Beach's car. We do want to update you at this point as we get set to go back to green. Rex's condition is serious. They have stabilized him, and he's got quite a few broken bones, Steve, as you would imagine. The seriousness of that impact.
And that's got to weigh heavily on these drivers' minds as we restart here with about 21 miles to go.
And it is amazing that after watching one of their fellow competitors have such a serious incident, that these combatants can strap back in the car and go racing so quickly, so fast.
A great race for the number 2 spot there, 11 Rebel Jackson Jr. and Pat O'Bold, but sprinting out to the lead, number 78 Randy Bauer. Randy, in fact, putting some distance between himself and the pack. They can't let him get away. It's only 25 miles from the first green.
And at these speeds, boy, those 25 laps are going to tick away in a hurry. And he's running a beautiful line through 3 and 4 there, Steve. And the only thing you got to question is whether or not he's going to cook up his tires too much by running this fast at a pace.
Rebel Jackson Jr. trying to make a move on Pat O'Bold. And here it comes down on the inside. Ooh.
Pat is for certain one of the best out of the East, and that's the great thing about the race here at the Copper World, is it brings the top drivers from the East and the top super modified drivers from the West together, which doesn't happen often. But look at this outside move. What a great move by Rebel Jackson.
I think O'Bold expected down on the inside, instead he got him in the outside. So Randy Bauer out front, Rebel Jackson Jr., Pat O'Bold.
So now our top 2 cars, of course, 2 of the best from the West Coast. In fact, Rebel Jackson beat Randy Bauer in the 1996 WSMRA Super Modified season.
You know, I called this track an oval earlier, and I guess technically that's what it is, but it's got a kink coming out of turn 1 into turn 2. The fastest part of this racetrack, and it's almost a D shape right in there.
Yeah, it is kind of a unique layout to the course, but it is a really intriguing racetrack. It's a good look at the dog leg right there. Now it sweeps back into turn 3. And then you go underneath the Goodyear Bridge right there, and you come back up out onto the front straightaway. This could be a tricky portion late afternoon going down into turn number 1. So you start taking a look at that car in second place, Rebel Jackson, looking for his 3rd victory here in the super modified portion of the Copper World.
Earlier, Bob Gerald found out that Rebel Jackson has teamed up with another Copper's winner.
In 1993, Jeff Helton won the super modified portion of the Copper World Classic. Last year, he finished 4th in the number 11, but things have changed for 1997. Jeff has stepped away from driving and has put two-time Copper World champion Rebel Jackson Jr. into the cockpit of this car. And Jeff, the questions are obvious here. Number one, why'd you step away? And number two, how'd you come up with Rebel as a driver?
Well, I stepped away because I want to spend some time with my family and my kids. As you know, racing takes up 100% of your time, and you don't have any time to take care of other things, you know, to take family vacations other than racing. To answer your second question, Rebel Jackson was with Dan Hayes. Dan Hayes has wanted to go to a one-car team, so I approached Rebel and told him if Dan did want to go to a one-car team that he could rent our car.
So now he's behind the wheel of number 11, one of only two cars that carries the Ford motor in the super modified division.
Which is running pretty good right now, Bobby, as that car sits in second place. We're working lap 13, the number 10. Troy Regier starting to fight his way back in 6th position. Making life difficult for number 1, Davey Hamilton. The 51 of Paul Durant going pretty slow. They both pass Hamilton. He's having some troubles out there, Steve.
Oh, he has to be. He's far more aggressive a driver than we're seeing out there today. There's going to be something wrong with that automobile. Either the setup or in the powertrain, because he's definitely not the Davey Hamilton we have learned to know and love here in Phoenix.
Davey, of course, winning the Copper World Super Modified event 4 times. A.J. Foyt picked him up to be his IRL driver, saying that he thinks the Super Modifieds are a great training ground for IRL drivers. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a Rebel Jackson, a Pat Abel, somebody else making the move soon. Maybe this guy.
This guy, Randy Bauer. He is really strutting his stuff today. Randy Bauer, who qualified on the pole, has been up front throughout this entire affair. And we're down to about lap 15 or 16 now. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be back with IR lap 19 of 25 for the super modified cars. Randy Bauer, number 78, started on the pole. He's still out front. But Ralph Shaheen, number 11, Rebel Jackson Jr. is coming.
And he is on a tear, Steve. Rebel Jackson Jr. out of Seattle, Washington. The Excite batteries back to entry, which is a sign, I think, of where the super modifieds are going. Getting the big corporate sponsorship behind Rebel now. He is flying up through the field, closing in on Bauer. Look at the gap. Watch him work this traffic. Let's see how good he can get through here. This is going to be important if he wants a shot at the win.
And bad news for you Davey Hamilton fans. I happen to be one of them. He is out with mechanical problems.
Well, we wondered about the traffic. Not a problem for Rebel. He'll take 2 of them on the outside, going through 1 and 2, and Bauer has got his hands full now. Look at this move. To the bottom out of 4. Rebel goes all the way to the bottom. Steve, he touched wheels with Richie Sherrill there in the 15 car.
I have to agree. I think he did. He just grazed him. Oh, man. At these speeds, after what we already saw, it's pretty incredible.
Boy, if you're going to thread the needle with an open-wheel car with this much horsepower at these speeds, you better know where you're going to put it. You better make sure there's room. Rebel is driving like a man possessed.
And with all of that offset and all of those wings, not to repeat myself, these cars are stuck so hard that if something breaks or you lose grip, you're just along for the ride, baby cakes.
Well, they turn left real well, but when you got to dodge through traffic, they don't, exactly turn right through the cones very well.
No, they don't.
This car is not going to do anything real well in a slalom course, so slicing through traffic, you better know where you're going. Boy, he is just pulling away from it, Steve.
He had to be playing positive back there, Ralph. Maybe conserving the tires a little bit, might have had a softer combat. Now he's out there just ripping them.
Rebel Jackson looking for his 3rd ever Copper World win. I guess there's nothing like experience in one of these cars at this racetrack to make the difference, because obviously Rebel knew something about the later stages of this event as the white flag comes out.
We are on the last lap. Randy Bauer going to be a little bit stunned right now after starting on the pole, hoping that he had Rebel Jackson Jr. behind him for the rest of the day, but that didn't happen.
Well, and the bad news for Randy Bauer is this is the first race of the 97 WSMRA season, and he finished 2nd to Rebel in that points chase last year. He's about to finish 2nd here today in the season opener.
And there it is. Rebel Jackson Jr. has won again at the Copper World Classic in the super modified division. Well, I tell you, that new partnership worked out rather well, didn't it? Followed by Randy Bauer, Scott Backus, Troy Regier, Pat Abold. Our congratulations to the top 5. Good show all the way around. And there is Davey Hamilton's car. It's a quiet cannon now. Davey has moved over to the Silver Crown pits to get ready for that race.
And he'll be just as much of a threat, if not more, in that car as he was in this one.
It is happy time in the winner's circle for Rebel Jackson Jr. and his crew. You just can't win the Copper World Classic too much in any of the categories. It's their biggest race of the year. Bobby?
Well, last year it was Randy Bauer and Rebel Jackson. This year it is Rebel Jackson and Randy Bauer, 1-2 in that order. Rebel Jackson gets another Copper World Classic, and you got to squeeze out of that race car. Congratulations, nice job.
Oh, thanks. That was tough. Bauer was looking real fast. Saw that full straightaway. I didn't know if I was going to catch him or not. We just started reeling him in, and tell you, this Exide Helton Racing car, beautiful preparation. The crew did a wonderful job. I'd like to thank all associate sponsors, Security Race Products, Buddy Job, Skull, everybody for putting on a wonderful race, and I'm happy to be back in winner's circle.
Yes, you are. Tell me about Jeff Helton's contribution now as a mechanic and a former winner of the Copper World.
Jeff is great. He's been here. He's done this enough that I get out of the car and I say, you know, it's doing this. And the crew guys are kind of looking at me kind of funny. Jeff said, I know what you're talking about. This is what it takes to fix it. So it worked out real well.
And when it comes to Copper World Classics, Rebel Jackson Jr. knows what he's talking about.
Oh, I think he's got a key to the gate by now, Bobby, here at PIR. So, Rebel wins it this year. Bauer won it last year. David Reed is with Bauer.
Tell you what, you had him covered there early, it looked like.
I tell you, I thought we did, and then late there in the race, and Rebel stuck his nose under us, and made me start pushing a little hard, and we were starting to get a little loose, and, you know, he just caught me at the right time in traffic, and I chased him for about 2 laps there, and they were running side by side, and I was biding my time. About the time they opened up, he had a full head of steam and slid in front of me, and, oh, well, take second.
That's not too bad considering this gentleman finished first a year ago, so he's not doing all bad.
Not bad at all, and gentlemen is the word for Randy Bauer on and off the racetrack. All in all, a very quick 25 laps, Ralph Shaheen. These cars are so darn fast, it doesn't take long.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely beautiful piece of machinery. A lot of fun to watch them. Just love strolling through the super modified pits. It is just neat looking at these great-looking race cars.
I'll tell you one thing, there are no two the same when it comes to the super modifieds. You can express yourself when there's not much of a rule book.
Well, you know, Steve, Rebel Jackson has won 5 super modified championships. He keeps racing like he did today throughout the 97 season. He'll have number 6 for the mantle as well. Stay with us. The Silver Crown cars, the other big boys in the paddock area, set to go. Maybe Davey Hamilton can win this one. We're coming back to Phoenix.
Love USAC open wheel racing. Well, you're going to adore the Silver Crown cars. They're up next. Ralph Shaheen is with the pole sitter, Kenny Irwin Jr.
Kenny Irwin came just this close to winning the 1996 Silver Crown Championship, and he's going to kick off the 97 season right here at Phoenix. Kenny got so close to winning the title last year. What do you got to do today to win this race and get a good jump on the point?
You know, we just got to stay up front, and this beast chassis, it can do it. So save the tires the whole day.
Saving the tires will be a key for everybody here today in Phoenix. There's the 81 of Tony Stewart, who will start 11th here today. Bob Gerald.
Ralph, as the Silver Crown field gets set to go, here's the deal. Only 0.7 of a second separate the front of the field from the rear of the field. It's loaded with players. 1992 champion Jim Keeger is in the middle of the pack. Tony Stewart is in there. Davey Hamilton is in there. Lots of good drivers anywhere you look. Dave Reef will give us more of the Silver Crown story.
Well, Bobby, there is something missing out of today's field. It's the defending and 3-time champion Mike Bliss. He's not in the pits today because he's on the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. But that doesn't mean he's not here in spirit. The same 69 car that won here a year ago is in the pits under the name of Casey Deemer. Now it's a 173, and today it will start on run number 12. The cars are on the grid. It's time to go racing. Let's go back upstairs.
30 cars for 50 miles. There were so many Silver Crown cars, almost 60, they had to run 2 consolations. Kenny Irwin Jr. on the pole with that Chevy pink car. Most of these are small block Chevrolets. There's a Ford on the pole, however, and there's a Mopar back there in the field that's pretty stout, too.
You know, I was looking forward to watching the Supers run and get through with that. Now look at this field for the Silver Crown cars. What an absolutely awesome group of drivers set to go battling here for 25 laps in this Silver Crown race. This is going to be awesome. Jim Keeger, Bentley Warren, one of the best names there again is Davey Hamilton. How about Jack Hewitt? Do it, Hewitt. That ought to be killer. One of the best from the West Coast, Brent Kading, old BK's out here with the Consani car. Rocky Hodges and Robbie Flock, Eric Gordon. I mean, this is one stellar field of drivers.
And it is so compact, as our guys pointed out, that you got some real hitters. In fact, this kid, Jimmy Kite, he was second in one of the consies and showed a little strength.
Yep, first time ever on a big track for him. Russ Gamester, you've heard that name before as they get set to go green.
A little bit old, a little bit new, totally exciting. The USAC Silver Crown cars.
Steve, there's a problem for Tony Stewart's car, too. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. He's struggling. We certainly expected a lot out of the Triple Crown winner from 95.
Well, he didn't even make the start, Ralph. Chuck Gurney up front, followed by Kenny Irwin, Dave Blaney, Donnie Beechler, and Jimmy Sills. That's that Mopar-powered machine, the 1996 Silver Crown champ.
The only driver to win the Silver Crown title 3 times is Jimmy Sills, and we certainly expect to see the Placerville, California native up front.
And Chuck Gurney said before the race he didn't know how much longer he was going to actively compete, and he just wanted one more Copper World on his resume.
Well, we said that there were problems with Tony Stewart's car, and he has pulled it down pit road, and Bobby Gerald has caught up with Tony.
Well, Tony Stewart out of the race before it even started. What happened? We broke an axle in half. I don't know why it broke, but we were just getting lined up and catching up with the pack and just started slowing down, and all of a sudden the back of the car dropped down and was sliding on the ground and the axle broke in two. Big shame for Tony Stewart.
He's having the same kind of luck in the Silver Crown Series that he's been having in the Indy Racing League. He leads, and he can't finish.
One of the most talented drivers on the planet who just can't buy enough luck, any luck for that matter. Boy, Gurney's looking strong right now, but Kenny Irwin is not letting him get away. He's going to go after him.
Chuck Gurney from Northern California, he is a war horse. He has raced the wing sprinters, the Silver Crown cars, midgets, anything, really.
This new car that is running in third with Buckeye Bullet, Dave Blaney driving, is the white car, the 112. Ron Knott, whose son Joe Knott competes in the ASA Tour, bought this car for fun, Steve. They're running the Silver Crown car as a hobby, and they got a heck of a good driver behind the wheel, and they're looking pretty good right now, running in third.
90%, if not 100% of these car owners do this strictly because they love it. They love the nostalgia of the cars. They love however the contemporary technology you can use. There's a lot of tradition to them. It's just a great place to be.
Donnie Beechler, the winner at Cal Expo near the end of the 96 season, runs right behind Dave Blaney. That's the 67 car back and forth. And look at Irwin. He is closed up on Chuck Gurney.
And I think we echo the words of our pole sitter about saving those tires. So you really don't know what the game plan here is. A lot of these drivers, they may be hanging back.
Don't forget, Kenny Irwin lost the Silver Crown title to Jimmy Sills just as he came off of turn 4 at Del Mar. Kenny would like to start the 97 campaign off with a win.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable finish to a stellar year to come right down to the final turn on the final lap to decide the championship. Doesn't get a lot better than that. Stay with us, everybody. This is going to get real good real quick from Phoenix. Of the sun, Phoenix, Arizona, where the Silver Crown action is starting to get intense. We're on lap number 12. Chuck Gurney is still leading, but lots happening in the pack, Ralph Shaheen.
Yeah, there you see Chuck and Kenny Irwin still fighting it out. Irwin set a track record here, but look at this fight coming up here. That is Beechler, who has now gotten around Dave Blaney. So that says the 112 back a spot, and Beechler will slide up into third.
Dave Blaney, a regular on the World of Outlaws series, in fact, a former Outlaw World Champion. And he loves these asphalt cars. He loves to get an opportunity every once in a while to do this.
He sure does. Jack Hodenschild, another regular on the World of Outlaw Tour, in this race as well. There's Gurney and Irwin. As I was saying before, Kenny grabbed the track record, knocking a tenth of a second off of Mike Blissa's track record from 95. And these two have been going at it all day, and it looks like Irwin's about set to really mount a challenge, see if he can't take the lead away from Gurney.
You've always been a big Chuck Gurney fan coming from that part of the country.
Absolutely. If you've lived out west, you've had a chance to see him. And look at Irwin. I had a feeling, Steve, he was going to start testing the water. But if you grew up out west, you've heard the name Chuck Gurney and had a chance to see him race quite a bit. He's one heck of a good driver.
You bet he is, and right now he's fending off some stiff competition. I bet ultimately if he can make that pass, it'll be to the outside.
Well, he's painted him at least a couple of times to the inside. Remember, these cars don't have mirrors of any kind. Chuck has no idea what Kenny is trying. He can only hear him where he goes.
The Silver Crown cars exactly as they were a year ago. No rules changes whatsoever, except in the roll cage. It has been strengthened. It looks just a little bit different.
Nothing wrong with safety. I've never had a problem with them adding rules to make the car safer for the driver. Wow, look at this fight back here in 8th, Steve, and there is a number in there that we have not had a lot of chance to talk about. Number 92, Jimmy Kite. This kid started 26th. He transferred into the feature today from the consolation race, and now he's inside the top 10.
He's only been in a Silver Crown car once before, and I believe that was on dirt. He's never been to Phoenix, but he prepared by watching our TNN tape of last year's race and is really trying to emulate what Mike Bliss did to win.
TNN's Race of the Week, or How to Drive a Silver Crown Car with your professor, Steve Evans. Jimmy Kite making a good show. Boy, you obviously teach these guys how to do this thing right, Steve. Your pupil's doing well.
Oh, yeah, right. He is in that 8th spot, and he's still coming there. Here's Gurney and Irwin up front. Nothing has changed there.
These two battled quite a bit over the course of the 96 season. Irwin picked up the win at IRP back in July. Gurney was a 2-time winner, picked up both of his victories on dirt. Slower traffic to the inside. They'll both go to the outside. Of course, Kenny won on the smaller half-mile track, and Gurney got both of his wins on the big 1-mile ovals, a couple of historic places, DeCoin and Springfield.
Well, unable to make the pass is Chuck Gurney. And Gurney's going to be a little bit careful here. He can't fend him off and at the risk of abusing his tires. Apparently he's not doing that, so.
Absolutely. Even though you see Kenny Irwin diving inside, looking to the outside somewhere, Chuck Gurney has held the same line lap after lap after lap. So he apparently isn't too worried about it just yet, Steve.
Well, you've really got to be careful with these cars going into turn number 1. That's the quickest way around the racetrack is to delay your brake and delay getting off the throttle into 1. But it can bite you, put you to the fence if you get too greedy there. But that is the critical turn, drivers will tell you. Getting into 1 is what makes for quick lap times.
And the corners here are so radically different. 3 and 4 are nothing like 1 and 2. So it all depends on how you have your car set up, too, where you might be good. And Kenny Irwin looks like he's getting a little loose, Steve. Oh, here he comes.
Coming down the inside, trying to get a say, and he makes it work. Kenny Irwin Jr. now out in front. You can see how twitchy that car is. Chuck Gurney sees it, and he's going to attack.
Well, you can see Irwin sliding as he went into 1 and 2. He did that more like a dirt track drive than on pavement. And as you were saying, saving your tires is important. That's not the way to do that.
Chuck Gurney right now may be in the position he wants to be in. He'll follow Irwin for a while.
Let's see how Kenny handles turns 1 and 2 this time. You can see him fighting the wheels, Steve.
Ah, yeah, it's one big old champ wheels of course pokers. I love them.
Oh, boy, look at this. Gurney to the inside. His car is much more stable through the turns. He got a much better drive out of 1 and 2 than Kenny did, and that made the difference by the time they got into 3.
And believe it or not, these two have not really broken free of the pack like you might think. There's plenty of cars that are just now starting to make their move.
Well, a big indication of just how courageous Kenny Irwin is the fact that even though Gurney's car is more stable and Kenny's a slide, he's still staying with it. Not afraid to run it down in there. Look at this fight for the back, and you know, in the middle of all that is our little buddy. Here he comes, old Jimmy Kite out of Stockbridge, Georgia. Not exactly a hotbed for Silver Crown drivers.
Exactly. And running in 3rd is Jimmy Sills. 4th is Dave Blaney. 5th is Donnie Beechler. Lots and lots of talent behind Gurney and Irwin.
Now Gurney is starting to pull away a little bit from Kenny Irwin. Maybe Irwin's car has gotten a little too loose. Maybe he has cooked those tires up just too much now to stay with Gurney.
Well, definitely something has gone wrong because that car is not the same machine it was.
Well, Chuck has done a beautiful job of setting his car up as we watch Sills, Blaney, and Beechler coming up 3rd, 4th, and 5th because Chuck's car is not sliding at all. He stayed consistently in the same groove.
And Gurney has got to be thinking, oh, my Lord, I was just going to say, Gurney has got to be saying, please no yellows, Lord, and look what we get.
Well, Bill has come to a rest. Obviously, some overheating problems. That'll bring out the yellow. Bad news for Chuck Gurney. Could help Kenny Irwin. Jimmy Sills, Beechler, and Blaney are all going to get a shot at just how good can Jimmy Kite be today. Stay with us.
23 laps are down. Just 2 remaining to the midway point. Jim Keeker is in the pits. You know, Rob, a lot of drivers have won Silver Crown titles, but have never won the Copper Classic, and vice versa.
Jimmy Sills has 8 career victories in Silver Crown competition. He's got 3 championships, the only driver to have 3, but he's never won here. Bobby Gerald, talk to him.
Are you jinxed here?
Well, I hate to think that. I know there is a lot of luck involved in racing. Some you make your own, and some is just racing luck. Our racing luck is looking good. Going into the last race of last year, we were 138 points behind, pulled off the race and the championship, so it's a good time to be here, I think.
And he's in a real good position right now. Third, Jimmy Sills is behind Gurney and Irwin.
And the way Kenny Irwin's car has been handling lately, he might find himself in second pretty quick if he can stick with it.
And even with the yellow, Gurney and Irwin have managed to sprint back out ahead of this pack.
And Kenny's still trying that bottom groove, and Gurney's still sticking right where he was.
And Kenny's car is loose, but he's just driving the wheels off it, literally driving the wheels off it.
He's giving him a run, that is for sure. There he goes. Now he's trying him on the bottom of 1 and 2 as well. He had been just trying it in 3 and 4.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a loose race car if you got a loose driver.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff Gordon, he loves loose race cars.
Yeah. Of course, Jeff Gordon, a former champion in this division, is not afraid to go racing. He's got a couple of victories.
So right now it's a match race between Gurney and Irwin, and now Irwin takes the point. Woo, and sideways at it.
And that is, look at him just sliding that car in there, Steve. But again, that's not going to help him save those tires.
No, it isn't. And we're well past the halfway point now. The last third of the race, really.
Chuck is not changing his line, though. He's still, even back in second place, he ran that same line and almost got him.
You know, I got to wonder, if it wasn't for the exhaust note, if you couldn't hear these 2 guys clapping, they are having that good a time.
Oh, I guarantee you, these are 2 driven competitors. Kenny Irwin, one of the best youngsters. And Steve, look at this. There's Jimmy Sills, but you notice that other car in there running with Beechler and with Blaney? Yep, number 92, up from 26th position. Here comes Jimmy Kite.
Yep, that's our student, folks. The Ralph and Steve Video Driving School. Jimmy Kite is in 4th and moving. You know, he reminds me of an 18-year-old Jeff Gordon.
Well, if he keeps driving like this, I guarantee you he's going to get a smiley face and a gold star on his term paper.
A car out of Moline, Illinois, with a kid from Georgia.
Well, you know that some of the drivers have said these big Silver Crown cars handle kind of like a stock car. Jeff Swindell, who's spent a lot of time behind the wheel of Silver Crown cars, says it's similar to a stock car in that it's a bit of a lazy race car. It's not as quick to react the way a sprint car or a midget would be. Well, Stockbridge, Georgia is where they grow a lot of stock car drivers. Maybe Jimmy Kite was born to do this.
Kenny Irwin Jr., Chuck Gurney, they have no idea that this kid is coming. You see him right there, making the pass.
On the outside of Jimmy Sills, while Gurney goes to the bottom side of Irwin.
Irwin, Gurney, incoming.
Boy, isn't that the case. The only thing, though, is that Jimmy Kite's got a lot of ground to make up. We'll have to see how fast he can be in clear air.
And speaking of running the tires off a race car, he may have well done that to come from 26th to 3rd. Any more would be the cherry on the sundae, I think. He may have done all he can do.
Absolutely. Boy, Sills is probably wondering which car that was.
Yeah, he certainly hadn't seen it before.
Hadn't seen that guy. Well, let's see. Irwin, it looks like he's lost about a car length or 2 to Gurney. Maybe that's the end of the fight, or maybe he's just going to have to cool up. And Jack Hewitt, 2-time champion of the division, the all-time winningest driver in Silver Crown competition, has no longer got tread on that left front tire.
Nope, that left front tire is shredded. Folks, stay with us. Can the kid keep coming? Jimmy Kite? We'll be right back to find out.
His annual Copper World Classic, the beautiful Phoenix International Raceway, Buddy Jove's desert jewel, and what a pristine facility it is. Chuck Gurney, the 1989 Silver Crown champion, who sits second on the all-time win list, leads this one. Jimmy Kite, who's about to make a huge name for himself, is up from 26th to 3rd, and now he's working the outside of Kenny Irwin. Am I seeing this right?
Yeah, I don't know. What channel are we on here? Hand me the clicker, will you? That red and white car right there, the 92 machine, is the kid we've been talking about. He just passed Kenny Irwin Jr. Irwin does not have the handling race car he had early on in the race, but still, he's in second.
Evans, if he keeps driving like this, last year's Race of the Week show is going to outsell Buns of Steel at the video counter.
Oh, man, this is unbelievable. And Chuck Gurney is whistling along out there. He knows Kenny Irwin Jr. is probably falling back, but he doesn't know what's coming.
Well, it looks like Jimmy Sills, the Mopar now. Look at that. Both of those guys sliding them into 1 and 2. Sills on the outside, Irwin on the bottom. What a great fight for third, and it looks like the Mopar's going to get it.
I tell you, Jimmy Sills going to give that car a lot of right rudder to keep it straight. That was some great dirt track driving on Buddy Jones asphalt.
And Steve, bigger problems now for Kenny Irwin. You see, he's going to lose the spot now to Donnie Biesler on the inside. Remember, this is the season opener for the 97 Silver Crown Championship, and Kenny wants to contest for this title. He can't afford to lose too many positions in points here today.
Oh, but that car has become evil. If he can just hang on to what he's got right now, he'll be a fortunate enough man.
Well, he's going to do everything he can. Look, he's using up a lot of racetracks. He tries to hang on to one position after another.
And boy, I'll tell you, they pick on him now. He's wounded.
That's Davey Hamilton in the 111, and the 6 is Rocky Hodges in my favorite car in the field, the Ralph's muffler back entry.
Here's the 29 car. That's Bentley Warren. He's moving up into the 11th spot. A guy with a lot of speedway experience in Indianapolis. Great driver. Former Copper World winner as well. I'll tell you, all these cars are starting to get a little bit loose. We're going to find out who the race car drivers are now, buddy.
Well, and the exciting thing is we got a bunch of them in the field, and look at this. Kenny Irwin, after leading 5 laps and nearing the completion of this race, finally had to call it a day. He just wore that thing out. And I don't think it was the car wearing him out. He wore the car out today.
And you could tell the condition of the tires because these guys can't drive as deep into 1 as they were early on.
Rocky Hodges and Davey Hamilton having at it here. You can see Rocky getting a little loose.
What happened to Blaney?
I don't know. The Buckeye Bullet has slipped back. The former champion of this division, Blaney, winning back in '84, is, whoa, look at Rocky slide.
It's the Buckeye BB now?
It's the Buckeye BB, yeah. Oh, and we've got a caution, Steve. You can see these guys starting to slow down, and that was not what this guy wanted to see.
That is horrible news for Chuck Gurney, because that will put this kid tight right on his tail with 3 laps to go. Hang in there with us. This could be wild. Let's set the stage. We're going green. There's 3 laps to go. Up front is Chuck Gurney, who has never won in the Silver Crown division here, a 3-time midget champion in Phoenix. And right behind him in that 92 car is a 20-year-old kid nobody ever heard of until today.
And was Gurney ever on the gas coming out of 3 and 4, leaving the black rubber on the racetrack? And he has opened up a big gap over Kite, Sills, and the rest. Might be enough. Look at Hodges still fighting an evil handling race car.
Oh, they all are evil handling right now. You got to wonder about Kenny Irwin Jr. He wouldn't park that race car just because the tires were worn out. There's more to that story. In fact, Bobby Gerald is down there right now with Kenny to find out.
Kenny, you were right there with them, but the tires just didn't last. How disappointed are you?
I really thought we could win it today. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Was he bummed out? Here we go, the last lap. Chuck Gurney trying to hang on for his first Silver Crown win here in Phoenix. The Kite crew, that's the crew with the 20-year-old, the car out of Illinois, the driver out of Georgia.
Oh, and Gurney has won here 3 times in a midget, but never in the bigger car. Look at this, Steve. Here comes Kite.
An absolute burst of acceleration, or Gurney's car folded. The kid is danced sideways trying to make the pass. Unbelievable.
Steve, you're not supposed to be able to do that. He is dirt tracking it on the pavement. Gurney with the lead, but here it comes. Oh,
I don't know.
It's a dead photo finish.
Who won?
Oh, that's Gurney's crew right there.
Kite has won. The kid did it. Was smoke off the tires. Chuck Gurney, who led all but 5 laps, loses it in the last foot. You got to see it again to believe it. The kid is dead sideways, down under the line. Smoke pouring off that drive and ride wheel, and just in the nick of time, he pulls out, hammered down, and does it. Ralph Shaheen got so excited he ran out of the booth, microphone in hand. He's chasing the kid all over the racetrack. The crowd is going absolutely nuts. This is a magic moment.
Listen to this crowd cheering for you here. This is unbelievable. What's going through your mind after such a huge win?
After not being here last year, coming here my first year and winning, I'm so tired. I'm about sick. This is great. Yeah. Oh, God.
Now tell me what was going on as you went diving into turn number 3. It looked like you carried a ton of speed.
I figured with that many laps left, if I came that far up to the front, I'd had enough tires left to run second. I had enough to try for the lead. That's all I did going at that last lap.
Well, it paid off, and listen to this big crowd cheering for you. Enjoy it today.
I'm going to borrow Al Michaels' great line. Do you believe in miracles? Bobby Gerald?
No, this has got to be just brutally disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. We had them covered all day long, and we didn't put enough fuel in for the race, and we ran out.
Did it hiccup after the white flag?
The last 3 laps from the green, it never run the whole straightaway. I'd run down the straightaway, get in the turn, and then it'd take 200 yards to clear out and run, and then it just, in the turns, and this was a big turn, it just stumbled all the way down the end, and I didn't really have enough. I was just coasting here at the end.
When you came across the line, did you feel you had won the race?
Well, I don't know where the starting line is, and he got me down there, but I don't know. I thought I won.
Obviously disappointed. This is going to be a tough one for Chuck Gurney and his team to swallow.
Well, Ralph Shaheen is back in the booth, worn out. 50 cents worth of methanol fuel, and Chuck Gurney might be on top of that leaderboard instead of the amazing young kid.
Ken Schrader, Jeff Gordon, Jim Keeker, Mike Bliss, Kenny Irwin, and Jimmy Kite, all winners of the Silver Crown race at the Copper World.
A promotional consideration and a fee paid by this office. It's finally here. And they walked away 5. Spectacular racing action on asphalt, dirt, and water. You've heard about it. Now own it. Non-stop excitement the entire family will enjoy. Jaws will drop and eyebrows will raise as you watch drivers walk away from white knuckle crashes. NHRA, monster trucks, NASCAR boats, outlaw sprinters, swamp buggies, bikes, and more. It's all here. Call the 800 number on your screen now and order your copy of And They Walked Away 5.
Commercial transportation for this broadcast has been provided by Ryder, the official transportation company of Opryland.
Well, that kid, Jimmy Kite, doesn't need any transportation. He could run around this racetrack, the adrenaline pumping out of his ears. Super modified driver Rex Beach is reported stable but critical, a broken left leg, some other injuries, and we wish him a speedy recovery. This has been a production of Diamond Peace Cards in association with the Nashville Network.